So I think it's interesting, as we went into lockdown, it felt like a very sort of collective experience. Although we were obviously apart from our loved ones in many instances, we were all troubled by the same things. We were worried about staying safe. We were worried about access to resources as stockpiling happened. But it felt like quite a collective experience. As lockdown has become part of our normal life, we're responding to it really quite differently. And that led us to create these groups of people. We called them tribes. And they're clusters of sort of like-minded individuals who display sort of similar behaviours and attitudes towards the pandemic. And if I just describe perhaps the two sort of polar opposites, they're generally typified by the amount of concern they have around the pandemic generally, but also the level of information that they seek. And at one end, we've got the group that we call the ostriches. So these are the people who just don't see what the fuss is about. They're not particularly concerned for their own health. They're not really following what's going on in the media. They're not really following government guidelines. But they're the ones that will kickstart the economy, because they're the ones that will get out there just as soon as restrictions lift. And they make up about 12% of the global population. They're a little bit lower here in the UK. At the opposite end of that, we have the group that we call the precarious worriers. And they are very, very anxious. So these are people who are just not reassured by any of the government guidelines. They don't feel the government is doing enough. And they're really going to take their time. So they're going to need to see the very visible measures in place in order for them to feel safe. So that's face masks as mandatory, that's social distancing, regular testing, and so on.